The anime begins with a thrilling and action-packed introduction, showcasing 4 skilled players as they prepare to face off against a formidable group of 1,200 opponents. Among those opponents is the strongest player known as Queen, with both sides displaying incredible feats of strength and agility. In particular, as she continues to evade her opponent's attacks, she is eventually trapped inside a cage, leaving her vulnerable and unable to escape. With Queen's defeat, the 4 players are introduced to the legend of the Blank Players, a group of infamous and seemingly unbeatable rank holders. It is said that these players are cheaters and are using aimbot, but then it is revealed that the one actually cheating was Queen and that it was nothing but a matter of skill. We are then introduced to Sora, a young man who is completely obsessed with games. As well as him, we are introduced to his sister, Shiro, who is equally talented in the world of gaming. Together, these 2 siblings are known as the Blank Players. Then, an email suddenly appears on their computer screen, catching their attention. As they read the message, they realize that it is addressed to Blank and that it contains a challenge for a game of chess. Without hesitation, Shiro accepts the challenge, her mind already calculating the countless possible combinations and strategies that she can use to emerge victorious. As the game begins, Shiro's exceptional memory and analytical skills become apparent, allowing her to predict and counter her opponent's every move. In the end, Shiro emerges as the victor. A message appears asking them what they think of the world. This question prompts an inner monologue from Sora, who expresses his belief that the world is nothing more than a poorly designed game, lacking in clear rules and boundaries. I feel you, buddy. Just as Sora finishes expressing his thoughts, another message appears on the screen, offering Blank the chance to participate in a world that is more like the games they love. Intrigued by this proposition, Sora and Shiro eagerly accept the invitation, ready to take on whatever challenges may come their way. As soon as Sora and Shiro agree to participate in the world of games, they are suddenly transported by a powerful and godly entity into the mystical world of Disboard. In this new world, everything from national borders to the outcome of people's lives is decided by simple games which are regulated by the 10 Commandments, the rules that govern this world. Upon their arrival, Sora and Shiro learn that Tet, the god of play, is the ruler of Disboard. Tet had won a war waged between the gods in the distant past and had put the 10 Commandments in place for the 16 races that inhabit this world. With a sense of determination, Sora and Shiro make their way to the capital of the kingdom of Elkia, where a gambling tournament is being held to elect a new king. As they arrive, they are introduced to Stephanie Dola, the granddaughter of the previous king, who seems to be losing against a girl named Clammy. Seeing an opportunity to make their mark, Sora boldly challenges Clammy to a game of poker and wagers his and Shiro's life in the outcome. The woman, sensing an opportunity to gain the upper hand, cheats to obtain a full house. However, Sora manages to outsmart her by cheating as well, albeit in a very discreet manner, and wins the game with a royal straight flush. After winning the poker game and securing a substantial amount of money, Sora decides to head to a nearby inn to rest. Once there, he rents a room and joins his sister, Shiro, who had been waiting for him. Sora notices 2 girls playing poker in the corner. One of the girls, a redhead named Stephanie, seems to be struggling to keep up with her opponent named Clammy, who appears to be winning hand after hand. After a few moments, he approaches the redhead and whispers that her opponent is cheating. As the siblings make their way to their room after a long day of gaming, they are suddenly interrupted by the appearance of a defeated and frustrated Stephanie. She angrily confronts Sora, blaming him for her loss in the gambling tournament earlier that day. Stephanie argues that Sora had never revealed to her how Clammy had cheated during their game, and claims that she has just lost the opportunity to become a queen. In response to Stephanie's accusations, Sora decides to provoke her further, using his words to rile her up and push her buttons. His actions cause Stephanie to lose her temper, resulting in her slapping him across the face. Seeing an opportunity to turn the situation to his advantage, Sora proposes a game of rock, paper, scissors to resolve their differences, and that if she wins, he will answer any question she has and even go so far as to kill himself. Okay. However, if he wins, Stephanie must do anything he says. If the game results in a draw, Sora promises to give Stephanie a hint as to how Clammy cheated during their game, and Stephanie must do a small favor for the siblings in return. The terms of the game are simple enough, but Stephanie is determined to outsmart Sora and come out on top. As the game begins, Stephanie tries her best to predict Sora's moves and outmaneuver him. However, despite her best efforts, the game results in a draw, leaving Stephanie feeling frustrated and defeated. As a result, she now owes the siblings a small favor, and Sora is quick to take advantage of the situation. With a sly grin on his face, Sora asks Stephanie to do something unexpected. He asks her to fall in love with him. The request catches Stephanie off guard, and she is left feeling confused and unsure of how to respond. Nevertheless, she reluctantly agrees to Sora's request. Following a scolding from Shiro for his inappropriate request, Stephanie begins to view Sora with a newfound intensity, her gaze hardening as she contemplates the strange power dynamics between them. As the siblings continue to interact with Stephanie, there is a brief moment of fan service that leads to Sora being thrown out of the room, leaving him separated from Shiro. Without each other's presence, both Sora and Shiro quickly degenerate into simple-minded fools, a fact that is not lost on Stephanie. She observes their behavior with a mixture of amusement and concern, noticing that this seems to be a symptom of the siblings being out of each other's sight. Later, as they make their way to the palace, Stephanie reveals more about the world of Disboard and its various races. She explains that the human race is known as humanity, while the other races are referred to as exceeds. Each race is ranked according to their affinity for magic, with humans currently ranked at 16th, with 0 affinity due to their lack of spirit circuits, which are necessary for beings to connect with the origin of magic. Stephanie goes on to explain that this is also the reason why she was unable to beat Clammy in their previous game, as she was unable to see the magic that Clammy was using to cheat. Sora, however, firmly believes that this is no excuse. With a newfound determination, Shiro quickly proves her genius level of intellect by learning the entire language of humanity in a matter of moments. Stephanie, impressed by Shiro's intellect and Sora's negotiation skills, begins to believe that the siblings may be able to save Elkia from its current predicament. She confides in them that her true motivation for wanting to become queen was to prove that her grandfather, the late king, was right about humanity's true potential. As they make their way to the coronation, the trio encounters Clammy, who berates Stephanie and her grandfather for their supposed weakness. In response, Sora boldly states his intentions to become the next king. Sora, determined to become the next king, crashes the coronation ceremony and objects to Clammy's ascension to the throne, accusing her of being a con artist who is conspiring with the elves. His objection is met with a challenge from Clammy to play a game of poker. Sora agrees to the game but insists that it be played with the help of Clammy's elf partner. Clammy denies any allegiance with the elves and suggests they play a different game instead. Sora, however, is suspicious and reveals that the tournament had too many loopholes and could easily be manipulated by foreign parties. He hypothesizes that Clammy will now use magic to cheat in a way that nobody can detect, as she would believe that Sora has the support of another species. To avoid raising suspicions, Sora suggests that the game should not be fundamentally unbeatable, and the sibling duo resolves that they will not lose. Meanwhile, Clammy shows up and reveals that she has made an alliance with the Elven Guard to ensure the survival of humanity under the protection of the Elven race. Despite this revelation, Sora refuses to back down from the game. Clammy then leads them to a cathedral where the next game is to be played. The game is revealed to be a game of chess, but with a twist. The pieces have their own will. The sibling duo must now use their strategic skills to outmaneuver their opponents in a game where the pieces can move on their own accord. As the game of chess begins, Shiro makes the first move, but not before Sora negotiates the terms, allowing them to rotate between games after the first move. However, they soon realized that the pieces move according to the will of the player's leadership potential, meaning that the pieces can move further than their conventionally allotted moves and completely ignore an order. This puts Shiro at a severe disadvantage, as her pieces refuse to move. Seeing this, Sora steps in and delivers a riveting speech, causing an extreme boost in their morale. Even with Clammy using elf magic to boost her troops' morale, Sora's strategy causes the tables to turn. However, before they can claim victory, Clammy uses brainwashing magic to turn Sora's pieces to her own, leading to some turmoil for the team. Despite this setback, Sora remains calm and uses his dating sim skills to convert the enemy queen to his own, turning the tide of the game once again. With their combined efforts, the sibling duo emerges victorious, securing Sora's claim to the throne and proving that humanity has the potential to rise above their current rank in the world of Disboard. After receiving a much-needed boost of confidence from Shiro, Sora was able to successfully incite a rebellion within the ranks of his opponent, Clammy. With his cunning strategy and unwavering determination, Sora emerged victorious, defeating Clammy once and for all. However, as the coronation ceremony commenced, a new problem arose. It seemed that there could not be two kings ruling side by side. Shiro flatly refused to let Sora take the throne, knowing full well that he would likely use his power to create a harem for himself. Sora, on the other hand, refused to let Shiro become the sole ruler simply because he felt that it was unfair. They sat down to play a game of cards in the hopes of settling the matter once and for all. And so, a fierce battle between the two siblings ensued. After 500 grueling rounds, the score stood at 158 wins, 158 losses, and 184 ties. Exhausted and frustrated, the two finally realize that there is nothing in the Commandment 7 that stated there could only be one representative. With this newfound knowledge, they both agreed to share the throne and rule together as equals. The newly crowned kings, Sora and Shiro, immediately set to work tackling the various problems facing their kingdom. They knew that they needed to act quickly and decisively in order to restore order and stability to the land. Their first order of business was to deal with the corrupt ministers who had been causing so much trouble for the previous king. In order to do this, the duo came up with a clever plan. They ordered the ministers to play a game of rock, paper, scissors, with the intention of deliberately losing. The reward for winning would be that the ministers would no longer be able to conspire against the throne. With the ministers taken care of, Sora turned his attention to the wider issues facing humanity. He gave a rousing speech highlighting both the strengths and weaknesses of their race. As he spoke, the duo received a special race piece, identifying them as the sole representatives of humanity. Sora ended his speech with a bold call to arms, declaring war against every country within the world. This shocking announcement caused Stephanie to lose her mind with fear, as she worried about the possibility of a foreign attack. However, Sora and Shiro had thought everything out carefully. They knew that the foreign nations would be more suspicious of each other, trying to determine which one was backing humanity, and this would remove the chance for an attack. The duo, Sora and Shiro, were engrossed in a book about the Flugel inhabitants of Phantasma Avondheim. As they read, they discovered that the Flugel had an insatiable thirst for knowledge. Sora began to ponder whether they could use their knowledge from his previous world to win over the Flugel. However, before he could fully develop this thought, the god Tet suddenly appeared before them. Tet asked the duo what they thought of this world, and Sora replied that he found it ideal. Sora then inquired whether it would be possible to win the position of God through simple games. Tet responded that in order to challenge God to a game, a person would first have to defeat the rest of the races. With this new goal in mind, the duo set their sights on conquering the world. The duo's lazy behavior had been causing some concern for Steph, who felt that they needed to start taking their roles as kings more seriously. In an attempt to motivate Sora, she challenged him to a game of blackjack, with the stakes being that if she won, he would have to become a more decent and responsible person. However, Sora was able to quickly identify that Steph was cheating through a false shuffle, and he used his card-counting skills to turn the tables and win the game. Later, the new kings went for an outing in the community, with Steph wearing a dog cosplay costume as a result of losing the previous game. During their walk, Sora shared some of the lore about werebeasts, and Steph found herself becoming more and more interested in the world around her. However, she couldn't resist the urge to challenge Sora to another game, and this time Shiro intervened to make sure that the game was fair. Despite her best efforts, Steph lost again, and this time Shiro gained her panty as a result. After a few more game challenges and losing more of her clothes, Sora explained to Steph that there was no such thing as luck in a game, as long as one had the knowledge and skills to win. As they continued their walk, the floating city of Avondheim came up in conversation, and Steph revealed that they had previously lost their library to that nation. After some reprimanding from the duo, they moved forward with the intent to challenge the Flugel and reclaim their lost knowledge. The duo, Sora and Shiro, decided to challenge one of the Flugel, Jibril, to a game. Before starting the game, Sora gave a brief history of the Flugel, also known as Flugals. The stakes were high, with Sora wagering 40,000 books stored in a tablet from another world, while Jibril agreed to bet everything she had. The game they chose to play was Materialization Word Chain, with rules that the players couldn't use a word that had already been used, had to answer within 30 seconds, and if they couldn't continue, they would lose. Additionally, fictional objects and concepts didn't count, and anything stated in the game that wasn't in the room would appear, while anything that was would disappear. As the game started, Sora said, "Hydrogen bomb," and it appeared in the room. Jibril countered with a high-level spell named Peculians, and the game continued with high stakes. After a few rounds, Jibril stated that she was only humoring the two out of curiosity and could end the game at any time. However, Sora's all-knowing grin revealed that he had a plan. He stated lithosphere, the surface of a planet with spirit circuits removed, causing Jibril to start free-falling into a 6,000-degree core after oxygen was removed. The duo then kissed for circular breathing and removed the atmosphere, showing their strategic thinking and willingness to do whatever it takes to win. As the game reached its climax, Jibril found a way around the soundless world and burning land by using magic to state the next word through a page. However, Sora had anticipated this move and countered by using his own magic, Column Force. Jibril realized that Sora had planned everything from the first move, and his extreme level of foresight led to Blank's victory. With a smug grin, Sora announced that he would allow Jibril to use the library and read the books on his tablet either way. However, the Braille had other plans and responded by turning Sora into the Flugel's new master. The sudden turn of events left everyone in shock, but Sora seemed unperturbed and accepted his new role with confidence. As the dust settles, Jibril begins to share valuable information with our duo about the Eastern Federation, including the fact that she once challenged the werebeasts and lost. It seems that information about the game was removed as part of the game's wagers, making it impossible for Blank to strategize prior to the match. Undeterred, the team starts gathering more information about their new opponents. Unfortunately, it's revealed that Elkia has already lost 8 times under the previous king, resulting in the loss of half their territory. The duo knows they have their work cut out for them if they hope to reclaim their land and restore their kingdom's honor. The diary apparently has lots of loopholes meant to help humanity into winning more games and beating the superior races. The team heads over to the Eastern Federation's Ika embassy to see Hatsu Izuna. As the team is guided into the building by Ino to where Izuna resides, she is revealed as the granddaughter of the mind-reading Eno, an ability rumored to be possessed by werebeasts. Sora states that he wants to challenge the beasts, wagering Izuna's panties with Steph's on the line. However, that was but a test to see whether the werebeasts could truly read minds. If they could, they would know that the real wager is the chance to wipe his memories of how all their games work. Sora determines that the cold reading is what the werebeasts use to read minds, utilizing their amazing senses. Sora and Shiro challenge the werebeasts to a game, determined to prove that their mind-reading ability is just a myth. They confidently reveal to Ino Hatsuse, the assistant ambassador, and his granddaughter, the ambassador Izuna Hatsuse, that they figured out the werebeast super-secret game and know exactly what is needed to beat it. However, when Ino shows signs of hesitation, Sora and Shizo realize that there may be more to the situation than they initially thought. Sora challenges the werebeast and wages all of humanity and his race's peace. A loss of a race's peace means being denied from all commandments and making the race equal to animals. As the game between Blank and the warbeasts is announced to the public, the entire country expresses their dissatisfaction with the situation. However, since Blank are the representatives, the game must go on. Sora talks to Shiro about their promise to always stick together and support each other, no matter what challenges they face. With a determined look in his eyes, Sora disappears in a burst of static, leaving Shiro to wonder what he has planned. Shiro narrates her past, telling the story of how she was a super intelligent girl living in an orphanage and spending her days playing games. She then talks about the day she met a family with a young boy named Sora, who would later become her partner in Blank. The scene cuts to Shiro waking up in a world that has turned black and white, with Sora partially disappearing from her memories. She frantically runs to the room where Sora should be, but he's nowhere to be found. Jibril appears and informs Shiro that she is her master, as Sora seems to have disappeared from everyone's memory. The constant grayscale and lack of music beautifully illustrates Shiro's loneliness, as she struggles to come to terms with the idea that her memories of Sora may be false. However, she can't forget Blank and the promise they made to each other. She says aloud that Blank never loses, and the grayscale shifts to the world of color we know. Shiro affirms that Sora does exist, and the trio realizes that a day and a half has passed since his disappearance. Shiro starts talking about what Sora said prior to disappearing, and suddenly realizes that the game may have had a wager involving stealing each other's existence. The scene shifts to an interaction between Sora and Clammy, where they are wagering their existences and complete rights over their partners in a game. Shiro realizes that this interaction is something she is seeing in a dream and that the game may still be underway. As Shiro continues to search for any trace of Sora, she discovers Othello's stones on the floor. She realizes that they are part of the game that Sora and Clammy are currently playing. Despite not being able to see the board, Shiro knows exactly what Sora would want her to do. Sora forgoes his existence so that Shiro can take his place, and she picks up where he left off, making all the necessary calculations. Shiro plays the 3 Othello stones one after the other, affirming Sora's existence and winning the game. The moment is incredibly emotional, giving everyone goosebumps, including me. Sora reappears and the 2 siblings have a heartfelt reunion. With his victory, Sora gains Clammy's memories and alters the elf Fee's memories to make her his spy, establishing that he isn't colluding with any of the other nations. Clammy grants him her trust as well, solidifying their new alliance. After gaining Clammy's zeal and feeling the ball in support, everyone begins their introductions. It is revealed that Clammy is Fee's slave, as is the norm for Elven Guard to bind lower-ranking beings to them. Of course, Fee doesn't like the fact that she has to treat Clammy as a slave, even though she believes Clammy is her friend. The next day, the king heads off to Izuna's house, and Hino stands in wait to guide the players. Sora puts a special spell on Steph right before the game. The game begins with the Kingdom of Elkia, represented by Sora, Shiro, Stephanie, and Gibril against the Federation, represented by Izuna, Clammy, and Fee. Standing on guard, Ino is alerted to ensure that no obvious cheats are used by the werebeasts. The premise of the game is a fictional place based off of Tokyo. The players are given each unique weapons for this game, love guns and bombs. The objective is to shoot women who will then disappear, leaving behind their love power for the players to absorb. However, the catch is that the ammo for these weapons is the player's own love power. To make things even more challenging, if Izuna manages to shoot one of the protagonists, they will become her love slave. The ultimate goal of the game is for Izuna to submit. As the game begins, Izuna and Shiro find themselves pitted against each other. Shiro immediately starts putting pressure on Izuna, causing her to run away and jump off a building. Luckily, Sora is stationed as a sniper with Gibril in pursuit, ready to take Izuna down. However, Izuna proves to be a formidable opponent, dodging all of their attempts to subdue her. Unbeknownst to the players, Ino is actually guiding Izuna from the shadows, helping her stay one step ahead of her opponents. Izuna manages to counterattack, putting the team on the defensive and seemingly enjoying herself in the process. Meanwhile, Shiro is busy calculating a way to win, asking Sora if he trusts her, before blocking a shot from Izuna and becoming her love slave. With Shiro now under Izuna's control, Sora finds himself in a difficult position. Gibril flies him to safety while Gibril heads off to buy some time for Sora to come up with a plan. Despite being cornered by Shiro, Sora manages to avoid her and make his way to the roof of a nearby building. In a daring move, he tackles Shiro, sending them both tumbling off the edge. Just when it seems like Izuna has the upper hand, it is revealed that Shiro was never actually under her control. With a swift aim, Shiro shoots Izuna, while Gibril provides backup. However, Izuna is not defeated so easily. As she is caught, or about to be caught, she transforms and dodges the bullet, proving that this game is far from over. The excitement of the match reaches a fever pitch as Izuna, in a moment of intense competition, decides to use an ability that only a select few of the werebeasts possess: blood destruction. Shiro and Sora, knowing the danger of this ability, immediately spring into action and begin to run. Sora takes the lead, determined to use his bluffing skills to outmaneuver Izuna. He charges towards her, carefully predicting her movements and dodging the first two bullets she fires at him. However, things start to go awry for Sora on the fourth shot. Despite his best efforts, he is unable to predict Izuna's movements accurately, and both he and Shiro are hit square in the forehead with a perfect headshot. Izuna, believing that she has won, begins to calm down, and her ability dissipates. But just as she is about to celebrate her victory, she is hit in the back by Steph. As it turns out, everything had been carefully calculated from the start. Sora had placed a spell on Stephanie before the game began, ensuring that she would be able to assist them at a crucial moment. With Stephanie's help, the Kingdom of Elkia is able to emerge victorious. The werebeast's loss leads Izuna to feel a sense of guilt for having enjoyed the game where her people were at stake. However, the duo is quick to comfort her, reminding her that it's just a game. Despite her loss, Izuna remains determined to improve and vows not to lose next time. After the match, the team heads over to a bath with Izuna and Ino in tow. As they relax in the soothing waters, Stephanie rushes in to tell Sora that the Eastern Federation had moved their technology and personnel off the continent prior to the game. Sora, however, is unsurprised by this revelation, stating that he had already known about it. He then goes on to say that the game is not yet over, referring to the designated representative of the Eastern Federation, the Shrine Priestess. The priestess welcomes the heroes to her shrine and reveals that she had anticipated Elven Guard's involvement in the game. However, she had not expected the involvement of a Van Time, with Jibril being the one who influenced the Van Time. The priestess then challenges Sora to a game, and he chooses the game of a simple coin toss. The priestess laughs at the proposition, finding it amusing that after all the destruction caused by the two humans, it all comes down to a coin toss. If Sora emerges victorious in this high-stakes game, then the Kingdom of Elkia will be granted all of the Eastern Federation's territory, a prize that would surely secure their place as a dominant force in the world of Disboard. However, if the priestess wins, then the warbeasts will be granted the right to self-rule over half of the continent, as well as guaranteed rights and resources. As the coin toss begins, the priestess utilizes her powerful blood destruction ability and declares that Tails will be the winning bet. The coin falls to the ground and gets stuck upright, resulting in a draw. However, Sora reveals that he manipulated the outcome by shifting the plate under his foot, ensuring that the result would be in their favor. In the event of a double win, both continents would share resources, and the werebeasts would remain self-ruled under the newly formed Elkia Federation. However, the priestess warns that even if the nations unite, the Elven Guard would still wage war against the werebeasts. But Sora remains undeterred and vows to defeat them when the time comes. As the anime progresses, we see that Sora had already altered Fi's memories, causing her to report false information about the game held by the werebeasts. This cunning move allowed Sora to prepare for the next challenge and get the Elven nation under his command. Towards the end of the anime, the priestess inquires about the siblings' ultimate goal, to which Sora replies that from the start, their aim has been to beat the one true god, Tet. In response, the priestess summons the old dudes, who rank first amongst the Exceed, and face-to-face with one of the strongest beings in Disboard, Blank prepares for their next challenge. But, alas, this is where our story ends for now. Thank you for joining us on this exciting journey through the world of Disboard. Be sure to stay tuned for our next video, where we'll delve even deeper into the thrilling games and intense battles that await our heroes. Until then, may the games be in your favor. See you next time.